Oh, welcome in everybody. Ooh. Yeah, we just gotta sit with this for a moment. We gotta sit with what has happened, what has transpired, how we went from beating the best team of all time to losing to one of the worst teams of all time in Orlando City. Granted, they have been doing a little bit better over the last couple seasons, which is extremely frustrating because when we're doing poorly, why can't they also do poorly? Why does it have to be inversely related? You know? But oh well, it is what it is. We're going to have to sit with it, a gut punch to end the season, but it's not all doom and gloom. There's plenty of things you can point to that happened in the postseason and some things that happened during the regular season that can be building blocks for next season. We'll talk a lot about that because we're going to need to, because the game itself, unfortunately, didn't give us a lot of positives to go through. Boy, that's a defensive clinic that Orlando put on. We weren't able to breathe. Weren't able to do anything. I don't think we registered a shot on goal. That's pretty dismal. Granted, we were missing our two biggest attackers that went down in injuries unfortuitously. It seemed like the house of cards we had built finally just collapsed, and our luck had run out, and in a hyperbolic fashion with multiple, tires blowing on the vehicle. So, yeah, it's tough, it's rough, but waiting for AJ to finish his dinner to get him on screen before this becomes an eating stream. And so, yeah, I'm going to bring in AJ to get this show started now. And we'll talk about some of those positives from this game, which probably weren't too many. Few and far between, unfortunately. But yeah, welcome in everybody. This is going to be in memoriam of the season we've had and the post-season run that we've had. That's been pretty memorable. And I would be surprised if we see something like beating something like Miami in the playoffs again anytime soon. I'd like to hope that it's something that recurs often, but I feel like that's not something we can rest our hats on as expectations going forward. But you know what? Why not? Let's be optimistic. And with that, let's have AJ come in. AJ, how you doing? How are you feeling after that? Mark is in the background. You can see him. He's back there, hiding. He'll give his more than 2 cents later, I'm sure. But AJ, we'll start with you. How'd you feel the game went? And then does this add to the story of the rebuild for next season for you?
Well, yeah, I'll answer some questions one at a time, I guess. But how am I feeling? Annoyed. It definitely is one of those things where, circumstances are really coming into play here. But history won't remember the circumstances, unfortunately. And yeah, having both of your strikers go down in the match, especially after a tackle that, wasn't even carded for the one on TRA. And yeah, he has to pretty much struggle through the entire first half and then finally get taken off. It was hard to watch, extremely hard to watch. And that wasn't the only thing that was hard to watch. It was, very much this match was, desperate in some senses, but also, Atl Utd, we fought with everything we could. It just was clear that we didn't have the quality, we didn't have the composure in the middle of the park to really kind of create the chances that we, know we can and should. But we played with almost a little too much urgency. We weren't patient enough in possession. And essentially, Orlando, they kind of, held the ball to death and then also peppered us with a number of chances that Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we were able to handle a little bit. They came out of the blocks fast, and that was difficult to contend with. We dealt with it, but off the post, Saba saving it off the line. It was very much, yeah. Atl United had it all to do clearly from minute one, and the second half didn't start off that much better with Daniel Rios taking the brunt of a kick to the head, and it's just, yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal, this match, where there are a lot of what ifs, and unfortunately, like I mentioned at the top, history won't remember that. And Orlando City, I think you mentioned, it's a bad Orlando City team. I disagree there. This is the best Orlando City has ever been.
Yeah, I meant just in general, not this season. Unfortunately, they are good, which sucks to say.
Right, exactly. It's I'm bitter about saying it as well. I agree, but it is that. I mean, Orlando. This is the best spell that they've had. Context is also key here. They're year 5 into their project. Oscar Pereira has been their head coach for a long time, and he has mentioned that, yeah, he needs and wants to win an MLS Cup here, because he feels like probably the window's going to shut soon on this squad.
Yeah.
And I think it is that, like, if they don't win anything, which, man, right now with the clubs that are in the conversation, I am not really enamored with who we might have to, like, kind of ghost root for. I mean, you look at it, it's Orlando, it's New York Red Bulls, it's Minnesota United, and yeah, it could be LA Galaxy, or wait, is it LA Galaxy and playing Minnesota United
Correct.
tonight? Yeah, and Seattle Sounders, rather. There we go. And yeah, so it's like, okay, either of them. I don't really just going through them. It's like, yeah, definitely last on that list is Orlando City. New York Red Bulls probably coming up right after that. Seattle Sounders, it's like, okay, yeah, they've won. They're they're that type of club that just wins stuff. Okay, they're probably the most okay with. It's like, okay, whatever. LA Galaxy also as well, maybe coming in. It's like, okay, they're on a resurgence. They have, with Greg Vanney, a proven winner. They've spent a lot of money. Okay, but Minnesota United, it's like, the 2017 class. Nah. I think they're third on the list of, like, nah, don't want them to win it. So yeah, these MLS players are like right now a list of teams that, man, it's like, it's just pick your poison. Like,
yeah.
You do not want to see any of them lift the MLS Cup, really, except, I'd be okay with the Thunders and LA Galaxy. So,
yeah, I'd be
we'll
very
see.
okay with LA Galaxy, just because they're exciting to watch and they remind me of 2018 Atlanta United, just with their dynamism and speed and tenacity, and it just feels like a unrelenting force against you. It's fun to watch them batter other teams. So it's exciting, at least, to see them. Hopefully they go far in the postseason. I have all the faith in the world they'll beat Minnesota tonight, but who knows? Maybe the Cinderella stories of some of these lower seed teams upsetting other teams are finally coming to an end. Unfortunately, it did with us, so we'll see with Minnesota. I feel like I have like a bunch of thoughts about this game and what it means. I mean, but I feel like also it's a little moot, because it's like the team is going to be chopped and changed quite significantly for next season. Some people are saying, we definitely need to keep Rob, top contender for the job. No doubt he's a contender, but my money's on he probably isn't picked. And that means there's going to be a lot of different people. We're talking about in the Discord, well, do we have momentum from all this playoffs for next season? I think the only momentum that's going to show is from the social media team. because all the players and a lot of everything else is going to be gone, but the social media team is going to remember this run, and they're going to be like, we were cooking then, and maybe we're cooking still, but I don't know if we're going to come out the blocks next season firing on all cylinders. We've seen a lot of times we've been loaded with some high quality DPs that come in and they take a while to get adjusted. Doesn't mean they're going to be like flukes or flops or anything, but it's a possibility that might be the case. I don't know if momentum will be there from what we've done this year, just with the fact that there'll be so many new people. If anything, there's a good chance that they might just create momentum out of nothing, where had there not been any, and that's kind of the ideal scenario for me. New players coming in to just be like, I'm gonna take the narrative of the season from the beginning and make it my own. Hopefully, that's something we'll see. But yeah, did we Orlando ostensibly isn't as good as Miami. So did we play down in this game instead of playing up in Miami?
I think you could see a noticeable difference in energy.
Yeah.
From Atl United, from the match versus Inter Miami to versus Orlando City, and I don't know if it's like two or threefold almost a little bit. I don't know if there's a little bit of now the hard part's done. Maybe that was a little bit of the thought process in a few of the players' heads. There's a bit of that. This is getting a little, maybe conspiratorial, maybe here. But, Rob Valentino being a former Orlando City guy, maybe the hatred isn't like just at the levels that, I think it is for a lot of fans and, obviously previously some players that love to kill Orlando City. But I don't think we have really anybody except for Brad Guzan, who's not in front of goal, in terms of attacking anyway, that, has that killer instinct to want to bury Orlando City. And I think, there is a part of that. I think that is coming into play here, at least for my money anyway. That's okay. Now we truly are playing with house money, and the injury to Tiare, the early goal, definitely kind of sputtered a little bit of the the wind in our sails, and I think we looked toothless, unfortunately, after Tiare had to go down pretty much with the injury, and it just looked like a team that didn't have the tip of the spear, like you like to say. It was not very sharp. It was, a lot of just very, like I mentioned, desperate type of passes forward that didn't really have an intended target, it seems like.
A lot of the balls were overhit, like a lot of them.
Yeah. Just a severe lack of quality. And, going into the match, it's like, hearing the Dax McCarty, he wants to do the Brad Guzan celebration if he scores. I mean, yeah, there wasn't really ever a look in front of goal for any of the five stripes. That was a really clear-cut chance. Like, yeah, I don't think we had a shot on goal. And man, that's rough goings if you're trying to win a playoff match. And I mean, Atl United, it's this. It's like, with the defense that we have on paper, it should be like pretty good, right? But on set pieces, for whatever reason, we fall asleep a lot. 13 goals off of set pieces, like that we've conceded.
Yeah.
Really unacceptable.
There was a little fluky goal too. Like, it's just chaos in the box. Just happened to pounce on it, and we were just a little slow to it, and it just stinks too, because it's not even like Orlando played beautiful football to get that goal, or any goal for that matter. They had to rely on chaos in the box to unsettle us, and just kind of get a 50-50 lucky chance. I mean, that doesn't scream to me MLS Cup winner. Sorry to tell you, Orlando, but it is what it. That just doesn't scream to me anything optimistic for you guys.
Yeah, but they did control a lot of this match. They
good for you, us. But you gotta score goals to win. Like, good for you, can
Fair.
play defense.
I think they've, and credit to us, I think we played them pretty decently. But
not bad.
I think but it's just a matter of they have enough attacking pieces. They're a pretty deep team, and I would say attacking wise, they're probably the second best attacking side left in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, it is this. It's like they have a really good chance, and they are the favorites now in the Eastern Conference, and it is. I mean, they have been, obviously since this round started, and yeah, I think for me the most annoying bit is that it's Orlando.
Yeah.
That we went out to Orlando, and they're kind of that. Apologies to any Tottenham fans, but they're that kind of Spursy, just that younger brother, that team that we love to rag on, and the fact that our very first playoff matchup, we go out against them, albeit this is a huge caveat. This is one of our worst seasons that we've ever had, and we have somehow gotten all the way here.
We were down 3 strikers this game. I mean, we didn't even have our DP striker to begin with, and then to give you guys even more of an advantage, we it took out our other 2 strikers. So it's like, how are we supposed to score? But we did our best, and obviously we didn't even register a shot on target because of that. Yeah,
and I think a sound strategy, if they were trying to do that, injure both of our strikers. If
they're really thin at the striker position. If we could just knock a couple of them out, we don't have to worry. Yeah. And Oscar Brand knew it. He's like, we only have to score 1, and then we bunker all the second half and hit him on the counter, and somehow not score on any of our counter opportunities, which was really kind of surprising. I was really amazed that Orlando failed to put us to bed during the second half.
It is absolutely true, though. I agree that attacking wise, they're not exactly inspiring to some degrees, at least being clinical in front of goal, and that's kind of been their MO a little bit, is that they're not a side that is absolutely clinical. They create a decent number of chances. They're great in possession, but are they killers? Not exactly. But I think before Nick comes on, that goal that they scored, unfortunately, it's the reaction that was a little slow from Jamal Tiare, because he was the closest one to it. And you have to wonder, if he's 100% and not limping, would he be able to get to it to be able to, prevent the shot?
Yeah.
It's just a number of what ifs in this match that, are just going to leave us talking to ourselves.
Yeah. And it's just unfortunate, Brad Guzan, like, it's not on him, but if it just, slightly hit the ball a little bit different, that's a save, because he just put his body in the way. But it's not like Enrique was like, oh, I'm exactly planning this perfect strike that's definitely going to score. So he just threw his leg out there and hoped for the best, and that's what happened.
Right, and he's in the 6-yard box. It's like, you're not expecting anybody to make any saves there.
Yeah,
like that's a tall order.
But sure. You do with how much magic Brad has been coming up with recently. You kind of like true, maybe like if he saves a thing like that, I think he had one other excellent save this game too. That like I think like you're like maybe there could be a chance, but I mean it's really how you kind of shut down the energy of a team too. Is by not, shutting them down with your goalie, and then it's just the other team all of a sudden is like, what do we got to do to buy a goal here,
Yeah, or even just a shot in the box. Yeah. But yeah.
All right, Nick. Yeah. Welcome in. How you doing? How do you feel about that? I know it's not the result we wanted, but I mean it's the result we kind of deserve, considering we made this bed months ago. While Orlando was winning games, we were dropping games and points left and right. They got home field advantage. They got rest. They, didn't send all of their players to international duty, and Moranchuk looked like he was tired this game. So, what did you think about this game?
I honestly thought that we just looked listless out there at times. I mean, it's like I've always said about this season that it's been a season of 3 teams. There was Gigi and Almada's team, and then there was in between that and this run. Those are the 3 teams. That was the second team, in which we had just no cohesiveness going on the field. I felt like that team was playing again.
Yeah.
And certainly being down our strikers as progressively as the match went on did not help matters either. And I don't want to blame the officiating totally here, but what the hell?
Yeah, the officiating seemed a little questionable, but for the most part I wasn't too upset with it. But there was no calls that altered the statistics of the game in a dramatic fashion. But I did feel like Orlando was playing this game like a playoff game. They saw that we were a little listless, a little lacking of energy, and so what did they do to really hammer that in? It's like in hockey, they forechecked the hell out of us. Every time there was like a 50-50, our guys got bashed and careened off the ball and went flying out of bounds onto the ground. We never did that. We rarely ever and then when we did shoulder to shoulder, we would get a call or something like that. But our guys would get pummeled and get thrown to the ground. There was one time where that giant Norwegian dude or whatever threw Amador straight up to the ground. I was like, damn man, they're just not calling anything. This is really chippy. Because I guess you didn't want to start throwing out cards left and right, but it was just I thought we weren't in it, and that those kind of you can kind of imagine them as liver punches in a boxing match. They just kind of sap the energy out of you as you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you got to admit that Tiari getting his ankle stepped on, that's got to be a card.
Yeah,
I mean, totally. How was that missed?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is that because play continued and then he didn't bring it back for a card. I guess he didn't feel like it was card worthy, but I mean
it was definitely unintentional. But whatever, I don't think that should matter that much.
Cleat, leg, card.
Yeah, intentions do not matter. Basically, yeah, you can have a clumsy foul if you fouled in a dog-so situation where you go, oh yeah, well he didn't mean it. It's no, it's a dog-so situation if it were. So yeah, but yeah, so I 100% agree with you there, Nick. It's it should have been pulled back for an actual carding situation. But yeah, go on.
But as we were watching the game, the frustration amongst my group was just mounting, and it felt like it was about to boil over. Just, it's hard to describe because we were just every time we went down the field, it seemed like the players were not in sync with each other, and the lack of a striker really showed itself there. That the lack of a true number 10. Who was it supposed to be? Was it supposed to be Alexi? Was it supposed to be Rios?
Amador is our secret number 10.
Time he was in there, Amador was shut the hell down. They shut Amador down.
They know he's a problem. Yeah.
They know
they shut down.
They played.
Moranchuk had lines around him the entire game. He couldn't breathe, and obviously that's part of it. All of our operators were shut down.
Yeah, Saba. They got the memos. That's for sure. As far as office space goes, they everyone on the staff got the memo that the danger men are Saba, are Amador, Tiari on the break, and I mean Saba. Every time he was pulling forward, he had 3 men at least on him. Every single time he was on the break.
I saw
that's outrageous, and nobody else on Atl United decided to make a run close enough to him to give him options.
Don't keep up with him. Even players on our team can't keep up with him.
Exactly, and that's a big part of it for sure. Is that he's a fast individual, he's very pacey, but at least somebody that he can pull the ball back to. No one was like really, really close to him until Ronald Hernandez kind of started playing. Well, he came on, but then started playing on his side a little bit more. But I think that's the frustrating thing about Ronald Hernandez is that it's never two sequential good plays in a row. It's something, oh, okay, he got the ball. And then he chips a ball into the box errantly to nobody. It's like just so frustrating on that end of, someone that, has some promise, but I think just ultimately, we know his limitations, but, and I think there's a reason why he didn't start and, all that. But, the defense, it's just, you only need one moment in the playoffs and, to shut down like that. It's just frustrating because it's, like you're saying, Mike, it's not like it's a beautiful goal. It's not like it's a banger. It's just us falling asleep in the box.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They got so damn lucky.
Yeah, I feel like it was a lot of luck because, like I said, they weren't able to really string things together to find that clinical pass at the very end to put it all together. It just didn't seem like it was there for them tonight. I mean, I don't watch them during the season, so maybe they normally do that, and something we do was stifling them. But I just feel like it don't bode well for them going further in the tournament. But who knows? Maybe they'll figure it out.
Question for you, Nick. So, Rob Valentino, obviously, Garth Lagerwey, he kind of mentioned, obviously, if he wins MLS Cup, it's an easy decision. That didn't happen tonight, clearly, obviously. For you, Rob Valentino, 2025 LA United head coach, is he the man for the job for you?
I was going into the match thinking after Patrick Vieira went to Genoa that I was at 95% on Rob Valentino. I still am there. I could see him being made permanent. And I stand by what my husband Greg said. If we don't hire him, someone else will. Even if it's a USL side, as was joked about in the Discord. So if he were to become permanent, I wouldn't mind it. I just think that this wasn't Rob Valentino's fault. It was just a progressively match that was getting worse in terms of injury, and just he got a lot out of what he had. Just imagine if we had more depth of what kind of team we would have and how far we could go with it. And that's an easy thing to say. Absolutely easy thing to say.
Yeah.
I am impressed by what he did and how far we got and what we managed to do under his leadership. And I would not mind if he was made the coach. Really, I would not. I could totally see it happening.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're alone in that assessment, but it's just an interesting thing to ask because I think a lot of people have been very high on Valentino, since these MLS Cup playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, it's, for Garth Lagerwey, a massive decision. And, yeah, there's a lot to do to get us right, even, because it's not only the head coach position, it's also technical director. It's also the two DPs. These are the biggest decisions that anyone can make for their club in MLS. And we have it all to do in this offseason. Like in a vacuum, it's like, okay, if we had just one of those things, it's like, okay, that's formidable. These are some big things that we need to do. Okay, yeah, hope he gets it right. Like,
yep.
for any CEO of a company, like filling one major position is a big deal. We have 4 major positions to fill, and possibly 3 with, or not, possibly 5 with the 3 DPs, possibly, because we might buy down one of these guys too.
And
so.
U22s are pretty important too, and they're gonna have those too.
Yeah. So this is the interest definitely doesn't stop here, at the very least, because this is as massive as an off season as it comes.
Yeah. And
is pivotal.
My concern, and I don't know exactly where I feel like I land on the Rob Valentino thing, but I think that my concern is that our performance in the playoffs is a flash in the pan, and I don't know how to verify whether or not it isn't. I don't know if we can verify that. So it would be a gamble then in my mind to go with him and to think, this is, was this a post-vibe season, like based on vibes? And how do you recreate that? Are you sure you can recreate that with a new team and everything, a new identity, whatever? I don't know if that's the case. So I'd rather so I guess if you are going to get a new coach, it at least at the very least has to be a kind of home run signing, because people are going to measure him against Rob, who then if you don't pick, now you have fans wondering, well, what if you did pick him, and who knows what he could have done because of his resume in the playoffs against Miami and etc. So like you said, it's a tough call, and there's a high potential that Garth could be lambasted for making the wrong decision here by picking one of the other. But the thing is you won't be able to really know. So it's tricky.
It is, and how we start next season is going to be very telling on how Garth Lagerwey is going to be received for his decisions. So, yeah, it's, like I said, going to be a very, very interesting offseason.
Can we start the next season just good for once? I feel like we never really start really, really on fire. I just really, for once, just want to come out the gates just really putting people down, and hopefully that'll be the case.
Right.
Do you think, question for you guys, do you think that we should announce a coaching change before MLS Cup, before the playoffs end? Or would that be or should we just wait?
Yeah, I think we're waiting. I think, in terms of Q4 anyway, getting someone on the books, paying them before Q1 starts, from a accounting standpoint, is, I think, a factor too. So, I think there's something to it there where, maybe you can announce it, but they're not actually going to start the job until, Q1. And so I think that might come into play here. Even though, it's a busy festive period too. You're gonna need to make some moves quickly.
Well, I guess the question would to shape Nick's question, but do you think it'll be announced before MLS Cup then?
Before it's played? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But straight happened, but I think it's a little early, because I think there might have been 4 candidates that were interviewed and all of that, but I think it would behoove us to probably interview some more people and really do our due diligence, because I think there still is some missing data here on Rob Valentino. He was waiting on it being an easy thing for him to make a decision on, but now he's gotta figure out if the playoffs were more of an anomaly or the regular season was more of an anomaly, or if I actually give him the pieces to succeed with 3 actual DPs, will he be able to get the best out of these? Can he also manage egos? Because when you don't have your DPs, it's a little egoless. You can manage those type of personalities a little better than somebody that comes in maybe from Europe, big name player, if that's something that we decide to do. Not usually our MO, but let's just say it is. Can Rob Valentino handle that? Can he motivate them to be on board for the 34 games in the regular season, playoffs, any cup competitions. Yeah, I mean, and maybe even have the audacity to bench them if they're not playing well.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
You might have like a Toronto situation where you have like mutiny with the high-profile players and the coach and things like that. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Nick, let's get your final thoughts on the game, and then perhaps how this has, if any, a bearing on next season. This game.
It hurts. It does. Not gonna lie, it hurts. But I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of just how far we got. Because no one wanted it. No one thought we were going to be here. We totally turned the league on its head. And whether we go down in the annals of history as the greatest upset of all time, that's a matter of opinion. But I'm always proud to be a 17. I'm not giving up. I will not give up. I'm very hopeful of what we'll see next season. I share everybody's interest in what happens from here, and I know we'll all be around for the ride. We'll be talking in the off season. We don't quit either in the fan base. And it's been a hell of a ride. Even though I came on board here in this forum late in the season, but I was around for all of it. There's a lot of promise for next season, and if we get the right pieces, we can go far. And there's a lot of other reasons as well outside of the pitch, outside of the stadium, that it could potentially be exciting just for me next season. Stay tuned.
All right, cool. A little bit of a teaser.
Yeah, I want to tease there. But yeah, beautiful words there, Nick. Yeah, commiserations to all of us. But yeah, have a great rest of your night. Pleasure as always, man.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for your support, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us during the latter half of the season. We look forward to seeing you next one.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, man.
All right. Let me get into the chat for a second while we wait for our next guest, Drew, to hop in. All right. Joshua says, at least they got in the playoffs. Nick was giving us the blow-by-blow with LA Galaxy and Minnesota on here. So it's currently, Galaxy is winning in the 32nd minute, 2-1 over Minnesota. It's a lot of goals, unlike what the game we just watched. Jeffrey Barber says Galaxy just took the lead. I hope New York beats Orlando because I want payback on Orlando. Yep. Christopher Wary says Rob Valentino made oodles and noodles into a gourmet meal, especially considering our two strikers got hurt tonight. I want Rob back. Jack Dickens says I feel like Rob did very well considering, but I really feel like that it was Vibes FC for a couple months, which is great short term, but long term I don't see it being successful there. So get another coach. And Jeffrey Barber says I hope get Ronaldo or Griezmann or Haaland. Yeah, that would be interesting if we got any of those players. So we are.
I think Griezmann is probably the most viable and possible, obviously. But yeah, it's still. I think he's wanting to go to a big market because, yeah, he's just that type of person.
Yeah. What was the fee that he asked to come to Atlanta? Forget.
Griezmann?
Yeah. You don't remember that? You don't remember that? It was
that an actual?
No, it was a conversation that season ticket holders had with Garth Lagerre, who said like, even to have a conversation with Griezmann, he was like $100 million or something like that, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, even then, we can afford it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, it's Haaland. Yeah. Like, obviously, he's in his prime. That ain't gonna happen. Who was the other guy?
That was Ronaldo, he said. And so this kind of piggies off of something I said. Not Ronaldo in particular, because I don't feel like that would make sense for us. But like, let's just lean into being the anti-Messi team in MLS and just start getting some high-quality Real Madrid players in here and just ramp that back up over in MLS.
I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah. But anyway,
I mean, that could be like a way to attract, high quality European players to be like, hey, you could just relive those years like Barca's reliving over here. They feel safe over here, come terrorize them like you did in Spain.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, yeah, Modric, I've mentioned before, as somebody that
only.
I would not mind. But yeah, I think it's Ronaldo. He can't come to America. For I think the rumored legality reasons of he likely will not be setting foot in the United States of America anytime soon. But Drew, welcome in. Let's have your thoughts. Very unfortunate result here.
This was a tough game. This was a tough loss to swallow after the joy of beating Miami a couple weeks ago. First half really killed us. How lifeless we were in that first half killed this game for us. Because we come out in the second half, Rios gets injured and we have to play Saba up top. But we start to see us have a lot more life into the game, and you start to see us actually kind of try to take the game to Orlando. And there was none of that in that first half, and we kind of let Orlando dictate the game. And they were able to capitalize and get their goal, and our lack of quality and lack of depth cost us in the end. We weren't able to get a shot on target. We weren't able to capitalize because we had great opportunities, great build-up to get shots on goal. We just could not put a shot on goal. Fortune miss over the bar. Marinchuk header over the bar. Those opportunities have to go on goal, and we just couldn't get it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lack of quality at the end of the day, and the freak occurrences is just something hard to overcome when you're already really short on depth, and it's just like it's one of these things. Yeah, it's like if we were pound for pound, all three DPs, and would this be easier to swallow for you?
Probably not, because I would feel like, okay, we weren't good enough. Now we're like, okay, we were playing with house money. We were trying to just do the impossible, but how we lost in those two injuries basically costing us a chance, because that Tiara injury is huge, because he in this system, in Rob's system, has been instrumental. He has been a force in pressing. He has been a force on the counter, and being that guy that is running with Saba into the box sometimes, just him being the only one there, because he is actually able to keep up with Saba. And you could just see Saba was left on an island. He was trying everything he could, and it just wouldn't go. And it just sucks.
What did you think of Silva?
Yeah.
He is. We will see what happens with him, because he was not great in this game. He tried to come in and do some razzle dazzle and try to create stuff, and he just didn't have the effort to get into his positions, which is so frustrating about him. We will see what happens with this team. This front office is gonna dictate where this team goes, and there's going to be, depending on one way or another, some players might not be coming back just because they won't fit the style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if he made maybe $200K less and was a bench option, okay, maybe, but unfortunately, I think he also came back from injury, where he hasn't really gotten a run of games. Yeah, he was able to pull off some magic against Inter Miami, and that was helpful. Obviously, very clutch moment, but it is still at the end of the day. I think we need the consistency from that left wing position, and yeah, Silva just hasn't really provided that all season, and yeah, that definitely hurt us this season. We oftentimes, at least from the four attacking positions, yeah, we just look like we're lost. We don't have pretty much all our options, and that's down to part of him and part of his play throughout the season. So yeah, it is tough. But excuse me. In terms of for this match, and I guess anything that you can pull from this, kind of to move it forward for 2025, like something hopeful that you saw from this match. Anything?
There's a lot of hope in this team, and that's the one thing this run has shown me, is there's pieces to build around. That center back group, those 4 center backs back there, excluding Abram, I don't know if he'll be back next year, but Williams, Stian, Cobb, Morales, those 4, that is a great group to build around. Our midfield with Schleich and Fortune, those 2 are a good pair and they work well. That's stuff to build off of. Saba being a good wing option, that is really good. Pedro Amador being a left back that came out of nowhere and just giving us that chance to have somebody create on that side. We'll see how he pairs with Lennon on the opposite side going into next season, because we really didn't get too much of a look at how well they kind of work together as well. There's pieces here, and depending on where the front office wants to take this team, you have a core to start around, and that is the biggest thing. And the fringe players, the Silvas, the Muyumbas, the Hernandezes, we'll see what happens with them depending on how the front office wants to build this team, and that's going to be the biggest thing, the biggest intrigue going into this offseason.
I think multiple Hernandezes or Hernandi, actually, plural. So, yeah, thanks for that, Drew. Appreciate it. Let me see. I have to get at this Miami fan in the chat real quick.
Oh no!
He came in and said, "Let's go, revenge for Miami. Where are you now, Guzan?" I mean, Guzan. This wasn't Guzan's fault, obviously, for this. But yeah, I mean, like, first of all, it's kind of hard to hear you back in round 1 over there. But I will say it is, fair play to Orlando in the fact that, like, you guys are, I guess, technically in the terms of the playoffs, the second best team in Florida now, which is hilarious because you have Messi on your team. That's wild to me. Like, at least we don't have that going on. Like, that is insane to me. I mean, it's weird. It's like going out in round 1 and then talking smack on round 2 teams is really weird, especially the team that knocked you out. But I mean, you do you. Pick a struggle. Mavry and his cuisine said, "Hey guys, I'm coming in hot with good vibes." Okay, slightly lied. Moranchuk was absolutely booty butt cheeks, but just an abysmal performance. He's been a disappointment in the first half of the season. And he also said, "But beyond that, if you told me in February that we would be eliminated in the conference semifinal by Orlando, I would be livid. But if you then told me that Bocanera, Pineda, and 2 DPs would be gone, and Wiley with no replacements, and we eliminated the GOAT Messi, I'd be ready to enjoy the ride. Point being, everything is in front of us. There is a stable foundation to support, pieces to build around. you can bring in a leadership that can work with these pieces and find 2 DPs to top it off. In Garth, we trust. Any thoughts there, guys?
I was gonna say that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is we've got the pieces, that we've got the core, and that's the biggest thing. If we can fill in around them, depending on if we want to keep Rob's more of a counter-attacking, find some pieces that will benefit that sort of system. We need a pacey striker that can finish, sort of like Jamal. If we can get an upgrade on Jamal and have Jamal coming off the bench, that's killer to teams late on in games. If we can get another pacey winger that can help Saba and be an option for Amador down that side, it'll be amazing. If we want to go a more possession-based, we'll see. We can fill in from there. It's just we have the biggest portions settled right now.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's there's a good core. It's just a matter of the biggest decisions that Garth Lagerwey has to make, and I hope he hits better than 75% on all of it, because if it's less than that, like I don't think he can afford to.
No, agree. Thanks, Drew. Thanks for hanging out with us for this season, and I'm sure we'll catch you in next season when you hopefully can be here for a lot of these post-game live shows as well.
Hopefully I'll be able to be around as much as this year. So let's look forward to next season.
Absolutely. All right, take care, buddy.
Night.
And Mavery also says, thank you guys for staying loyal and being critical of this club all season. You do great work, and I hope to run into you guys next season. Keep your heads up and have a wonderful holiday. Appreciate you, bud.
Cheers.
So we're gonna get our next guest in, and before that, let me see. I think like LA Galaxy is just piling on the goals now, is what I expected, and it seems to be the case. Jeffrey Barber says Seattle versus LA Galaxy is going to be awesome. I have a feeling LA will punch them through their teeth, but we'll see. Seattle's always sneaky, so you never know. Leg Zone 6, we need quality players that actually want to be here. First and foremost, a striker. Yeah, I mean, again, I've talked about this before. We always have to be weary by the fact that Garth and Carlos didn't see the whole Yakamakis thing coming. That was worrying to me, and I hope they have learned from that and are able to then see through things like that in the future. I mean, obviously you can never fully perfect that type of art of reading people's intentions before they happen, but it is something I was worried about. They wanted a franchise striker and they got a guy here for like 2 years, and that was not obviously ideal. Leg Zone 6 said the alleged greatest team of all time got to live vicariously through Orlando. Yeah, seriously, have some shame. Agree. Christopher Wary says Santiago helped win the Copa Sudamericana yesterday. Almada in the Copa Libertadores final next Saturday, and Greek Gio is on the number 1 seeded playoff team in Liga MX. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see guys go on and succeed. I don't have any ill will to them, but obviously what we had going on with a lot of these players just didn't work. They were not bad players essentially, except for probably Josetu. I just don't really think he's very good. But like a lot of the players that were here didn't mesh and didn't fit correctly. Hopefully now, with Garth at the helm and with a new technical director, we can really see a team that can actually be cohesive instead of just lacking the sum of its parts.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's individuals. They were individuals versus part of a winning team. And yeah, I think that's the key, is that how can we find pieces that fit together, that fit a bigger puzzle that is great, that is a beautiful thing that LA United fans want to revel at, versus sputter through a season and it's just not inspiring. Like, I think that still is very important, that we shan't forget that like that happened. That still happened.
Yeah.
But the playoffs can paper over a number of cracks, but yeah, the important thing still is that you have to have a good season in the regular season too.
Yeah, because we saw it. We saw how much home field advantage. Eventually, you just get tired. Eventually, start getting injuries. You don't have that cushion. It really starts to show in the playoffs, and we made that bed earlier in the season. So that's kind of how we got there. All right, Niall.
And we also saw how damaging. We also saw how damaging it was to the fan base.
Yeah.
Having a good season.
Yeah.
So.
100%. Good point.
Now,
What's happening, guys?
What's happening?
You know, just watch a soccer game. How about you?
What soccer game was on today?
There's a soccer game there?
Yeah, there was? Oh, I just woke up, so I'm not sure. No, I don't really know how to put this into words, but feeling lots of different emotions. It's tough to be when you're playing against a team that you've ultimately had the better of for the past couple of years. It's tough to lose to them, especially since this is a big moment for them. They're playing in an Eastern Conference. You're playing in an Eastern Conference final. That's, I think, unprecedented for them to be in the position that they're in. So this is definitely a big statement win for Orlando in terms of that regard.
Yeah, the little guys finally got to the big show.
Yeah, it took them a while, but they're there, I guess.
8 years later, yeah.
Yeah, fathers. But I mean, it's tough, right? Because you pull off arguably what the experts call the biggest upset in MLS history, and then you face a team in Orlando and you come out flat. Pretty much, you were flat for the 90 minutes you played. But to be honest, I think I think Orlando was always going to be a bigger challenge than Miami. Miami, in my opinion, is more of a complete team than Orlando. I mean, Orlando is more of a complete team than Miami. Excuse me.
You just woke up. It's okay.
Yeah, I just woke up. It's fine. I didn't actually just wake up.
I know.
Your hair says differently, but your hair.
Shut up.
I'm riveting.
That's it, AJ. No, I mean, Orlando for me was always going to be a tougher challenge than Miami. No disrespect to Miami, but Orlando is more of a complete team. You have a better defense in Orlando. You have more of a complete team. That midfield, for example, is just Cartagena and Araujo. They're two workhorses. And Orlando just have more of a structure compared to Miami. So I think it was going to be a more difficult match, and this is obviously also going to be big for them. They wanted to kind of forget what happened on decision day. They had a chance to take out us from the playoffs, and they didn't. But now they have. So it was a big victory for them, and it was, like I said before, it was going to be a challenge. I think it was just a flat game overall. I think, for example, the TRA injury kind of was a bit of a blow to things. I'm surprised he didn't get taken off earlier from my standpoint, based on how he was feeling. But eventually he did, and then of course Rios gets subbed on, and then he gets kicked in the face, and he has to be off for a concussion. So really, it's just one of those nights where you look back and it's like, you know what, it just wasn't our night. All of the bad things that could have happened, and then you concede a set piece goal, which is kind of the story of the season. Atlanta United has been terrible with set piece goals. I think they've conceded 14 or something like that. So just overall just not a great night. But I think it just shows the quality or lack thereof that we have compared to Orlando. I mean, there was a clear lack of a striker up top presence. To be able to just rely on Saba and Moranchuk and Brad, that you're gonna have to rely on more than that eventually to get to further in the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but I think for me this playoff run it generated some excitement, was the thing. this season was, I think you guys were talking about earlier, this season was a very rough season. And I don't think anybody expected Atlanta to push the way they did into the playoffs. So I will say that out of everything else, the silver lining was probably that. But it's definitely tough. But I think there is I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. There's a lot of important calls that are going to be made on the manager. I don't think it's Rob at this point. We're probably going to end up talking about that, but I don't think it's going to be Rob at this point. But he put on a tremendous shift, and yeah, just a lot of work for Garth Lagerwey and co to do.
Did you see Orlando going up 1-0 and then literally just bunkering the rest of the game at home because they were afraid? Like, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was. I was surprised because I thought they were going to go for more at that point. Just because 1-goal lead is not it's not the most comfortable lead to have.
Well, when you take out the other team's 2 strikers and they don't have a third, like...
Yeah, I guess that plays into it as well. Cartagena took TRA out of the match pretty much. But yeah, they pretty much bunkered, and to be fair to them, like their game plan was effective. At the end of the day, they ended up advancing and Atlanta didn't. So it's not the way that I think that you would like to see them play, but
so here's some other questions too. Did you think that we just kind of, spent our whole clip on Miami and we were just basically used up by now? Or did you think that, like we kind of alluded to in the beginning or talked about a little bit in the beginning of that, did Atlanta just play down to lesser opponents when they played up to Miami?
I think just different opponents. You match up differently with different opponents. Miami is a team that Atlanta has matched up well against, and part of that is, Miami doesn't defend. they don't defend at all, and that is going to leave space for Atlanta's attackers like Saba, like TRA. But Orlando, they're built differently. They are going to be a team that tries to annoy the living hell out of you. And they're going to be a physical team, much more physical team than Miami. They're going to make things as ugly as possible in order to get a result. So I would say Orlando's just, for me, a much more comprehensive team, and they're much more of a challenge to Atlanta.
Yeah. They remind me of Philadelphia a little bit from like a couple years ago.
Yeah, they play dirty. They have a bunch of
the
players.
Comprehensiveness of them as well. From when they challenged for the cup those several years.
Yeah, I mean they also have players that for an opposing team you absolutely hate, but if you have them on your team you absolutely love them.
Starting to really hate Angulo, yeah. Right.
our Ujo, Cartagena, Angulo, Enrique, all of those players you hate playing against, but they're players that are, they're top players in MLS. So they definitely remind me of a Philadelphia Union team because, they're not afraid to play dirty. They're not afraid to get into scuffle with people and get into people's faces. So I would say definitely much more of a team that was going to pose danger to Atlanta because, of what I just said.
I love how the one commentator goes, yes, Enrique, the guy whose father gave the pass to Maradona to do the hand of God. And I'm just like, wow, okay. That's a lot of degrees of separation from something interesting, I guess. Like, it's
and especially since we gave that goal to them too. Like, it wasn't a special goal or anything.
No, yeah.
Just a corner kick goal. Like
it was just a scrum. It was just a 50-50 scrum.
Yeah, wasn't anything special.
Do you think if we went to penalties, because apparently Orlando's not scoring, that we'd have a chance?
I mean, I think you have a better chance, yeah, but then also you have to take into account the fact that you have a goalkeeper in Gillespie who is good at saving penalty kicks. I mean, he saved Moranchuk's penalty kick, I think, last time we played them. But you never know. I mean, penalties, it's more of a lottery shoot. Atlanta probably wouldn't have minded if that was the case where they ended up going to penalties because they wouldn't be in the position that they currently are in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely penalties as well. I think Orlando has a bit of an upper hand with that, given their goalkeeper.
Yeah, they're at home. They won the shootout against Charlotte. I mean, they have some momentum in that regard. So No doubts. But yeah, you kind of alluded to it. Rob Valentino, you don't think he's going to be the head coach. What makes it that for you in terms of him in 2025? Why he's not getting the job for you?
I mean, I think Garth made it pretty clear. Like, as long as this playoff run keeps going, it's gonna be a harder decision. I think he said it pretty much out loud to 92.9 the game when talking about how, look, if Rob wins the cup with Atlanta, then that's an easy decision for me. I don't have to go out and make a risk with signing another manager. I can just promote Rob to be that guy. Rob's definitely I think grown a lot of respect, and I think he's definitely from this point forward, like, because he's been the interim on multiple occasions, but I think you can see, like, with the run that he was on with this team, like this year, that he's grown quite a lot, and he's been able to, I think, kind of be more of a coach that has his own principles and has his own ways of playing the game in that sense. So I think there's definitely, if not for Atlanta, I think there's definitely going to be teams that have interest in him. I mean, I'm looking at some of the teams that don't have a coach right now. Still, New England Revolution, for example. St. Louis City, I think, was maybe a shout potentially, but I think they've been linked to a new coach. So, but I think he's definitely gonna have interest this time. I mean, the eyeballs, I think, are there with what he was able to do with Atlanta this
Yeah, absolutely should. I mean, I wouldn't mind him being a second, an assistant coach, but he definitely should probably take the call if it's going to a head coaching position. I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the greater questions, though, is this. So Atlanta United wanting to be a big club in MLS, again, anyway. And big clubs usually play protagonist football. Maybe sans Real Madrid, where they don't do that at all costs, right? But I think that's really, it's important here. Seattle Sounders are also maybe an anomaly, that they're not really a team that are known for that. But, is it important to you how we play, Niall?
Yeah, I think so. I think good teams have possession of the ball. I mean, you talk about the best teams in the world, Man City, Liverpool, Barcelona, they have a distinct style of play. They want to control the ball.
Yeah, I like how you sing all those teams. Yeah. Go on.
Whatever. You get my point.
Keep going. Go on.
Next time, if you want to make AJ happy, just include Arsenal in there too.
It doesn't have to include Arsenal.
I did that on purpose. I didn't include Arsenal on purpose. I know. It's all no, but I think, yes, for me, I want to play a possession attacking based style. That at the end of the day, though, possession doesn't mean everything. You also have to be direct with that possession as well. You have to utilize the possession properly. You can have 60% of the ball, for example, but if you don't do anything with it, then what's the point?
That's called Pineda ball.
So either way, I want to play. Most importantly, I want to play attacking football, because I think that's what the fans want most importantly, and I think that's what this club has matched with the best. So for me, yeah, I think. Curtin is also a name that's been thrown around, but will he play that style of football is another question for me, as well. You wanna be able to, in my opinion, play a style that's entertaining, but at the same time you want to win as well. So if that does involve some sacrifice in terms of play style, then I think that's something that fans might have to be a bit more accustomed to.
Yeah, Jim Curtin, you guys like a diamond?
Yeah, I mean, his diamond midfield, yeah, it is that, though. There's so many aspects of him that, he's that type of coach that, on a mid-table maybe type of club, it makes a lot of sense because, budget isn't tremendous. He's able to do a lot with, maybe lesser parts to a degree. But what can he do with the war chest? And he's never really had that. And I think that's important in some degrees too, can he handle the egos? Is his ego too big that he's going to turn off not only big players but also the fans, because fans are not going to have, at least the 17s are not going to have a lot of patience for a guy that tried to call out the Elaine.
Yeah.
His leash is going to be real short. So the very fact that he's being, and maybe was considered, reportedly anyway, yeah, I think from an optics standpoint, it's like, are you sure, Garth?
Yeah.
Are you sure about this?
Homie's got to start winning trophies early to get because the instant you don't, it's this guy sucks, blah blah blah. He has so much animus against him from the get go, right out the block, that you have to do well right at the beginning.
I feel like part of it,
and it's not like he's a winner at Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't won anything. Besides the Supporter Shield, which, let's be real, okay.
Yeah, Miami
it's a
did that,
trophy.
and look where they are.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, no one's really reveling after winning the Supporter Shield. But no, go on. You were about to say.
I was gonna say, I feel like part of what he said annoys me as well. But I feel like part of it you have to understand is he's probably playing games as well. Like, he's he's like coaching for a team that does not like Atlanta at all.
Yeah.
I think this is a common thread that I'm seeing with fans. But if he wins trophies, and then if he is able to get good results with the team that he has at his disposal, then I think people will be willing to kind of move past what he said in the past.
Yeah, he uses evil powers for us. You know what I mean? Like, people would change their tune if he was able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how people feel about him, and especially for me as somebody who's been annoyed with what he said in the past, he's an effective manager. He's been able to find results in MLS. He's, I think, probably the manager with one of the biggest sort of 10 years in MLS history. I mean, I don't know how many years he was at Philadelphia before he got sacked, but I think it was 10 something years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That was a lot of stability, and also there were doubts thrown about Kern, but he was able to sort of turn Philly from being a laughing stock into a team that was a top 4 team in the East. So I think there's definitely qualms to consider, but at the same time, if you are looking for a manager with MLS experience that is not Wilfred Nancy, who I don't think you're going to get from Columbus, or not any of the other managers in MLS who currently are with a hot team, then I think, Kern is probably one of the only few other people with a shot at this point, because Patrick Vieira, he's with Genoa, that was just recently announced, so there's definitely the choices are a bit less at this point.
Yeah.
Well, at least with MLS experience coaches.
Yeah, because I think Garth is very big on having a manager who has MLS experience, and for good reason. This is a very distinct league. We've seen managers in the past who have come into MLS and have not really understood how the league works, and because of that, they lose a job afterwards. So.
Yeah. And it's important, but it also is it the most important thing? I think there are still coaches that can obviously come in and be successful, like a Tata Martino, and obviously you do have to, give him talent to work with, but I think that's with any club. So it is that. I think the importance ultimately is that, can they coach? I think that's, that's number one. And then the other things are somewhat important. Like, okay, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I think Curtin, for example, people probably don't have the highest opinion of him, but he can coach. He was able to work with a team that doesn't spend whatsoever and make them a Supporter Shield champion and an MLS Cup contender for the past couple of seasons. So you just have and with more resources on the table, then that arguably means there's more opportunities for him to put his stamp on a team. So for me, I don't see more resources being that big of an issue, because coaches will always want to have more resources, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It just made me think of something funny in my head, which is like Pep. He's like somehow imagine like Pep Guardiola comes to interview and Garf's like, yeah, but do you have MLS experience? Because that's really big for us.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, that percentage and how much it weighs should be like 10% maybe, like and that seems a little high. Like, you know, I don't think like if you've coached in MLS should be such a high prerequisite that, you know, you get the job or not. It's just, I don't know.
We got
for my
For
my money, I'm not putting that much importance on it.
Yeah,
But-
we got a hot update of 3-2 at halftime. Minnesota got a penalty kick, so they're
It was 3-2
trying to make
Galaxy.
they're trying to make it interesting for the second half.
Take it.
Christopher Wary says LAFC blew their season by starting the French guy instead of Kai Kamara, who scored all those goals during the regular season. Yeah, that is wild. I mean,
Olivier Giroud.
yeah, how do you not start Olivier at the same time? Like, I get from both points of view, but it's like, then just don't get Olivier Giroud then if you think Kamara is that hot of a hand. But you know, it is what it is. He also says Jim Curtin's a really good coach who had a limited budget and had to keep running the same team back 2 years too much. Yeah. Jeffrey Garber says, how about Thierry Henry for Atlanta head coach?
No, I'm gonna go ahead and squash that one because Henry. No, not because he's an Arsenal or former Arsenal player, but because he's like a very like stop and go type of manager. He's only spent like he's spent like 2 years or so at one place, and then he ends up being somewhere else. Like he was recently with the French Olympics team, and then all of a sudden he ended up quitting like unabruptly.
Reminds me of Tata Martino a little bit.
Yeah, so for me, I want a manager that wants to be here long term, because this is a long term project in my opinion. This is not something that's just going to be a 1 to 2 season like solution where it's like, oh, this team is suddenly competing for an MLS Cup again after that period of time. For me, it's going to take a bit longer than that.
Yeah, I don't think this is a one season fix. We would all love that to be the case, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a tall order to pretty much fill out, like I mentioned, all of the biggest decisions that you have to make in one off season. I think the ones that are made at the very least is probably obviously head coach, technical director, and one DP, and the other ones, okay, you know, it's all gravy after that. But I don't think every single big decision is completely made, and if it were, fantastic. I hope it works out, but now, yeah, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, final thoughts. It's sad it ended this way, but at the end of the day, I'm cautiously optimistic about what this offseason is going to bring. New coach, new technical director. A lot is going to change, and you know, they have a lot of work to do in order to make this team into a top 4 contender that fights for trophies. But I think especially with a new coach and especially with a new technical director, that's not Carlos Bocanegra, then that's going to lead to a more sense of excitement for me and I think the rest of the fan base.
Yep, dude. All right, well, always a pleasure, Niall, and yeah, thanks as always.
Yep.
Have a good rest of your night.
We'll catch you next season.
Yep, next season, hopefully for a better one. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers, bud. All right, and then Mark Nichols, it is your turn. You're coming out from the green room. I hope you at least had some snacks and water or something out there.
Can you believe this guy did not feed me at all?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Absolutely asked you if you wanted some food.
He sure did. He sure did.
You got the water right here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, where's the lobster? Where's the champagne? You know, I thought that's what we put in the budget this season for people in the green
Caviar,
room.
right?
We only have blue M&Ms for Chelsea.
Oh man. Well, welcome, Mark. How you doing? How you feeling what was that game to you, and did it have anything in it that can have a bearing for you on next season?
Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody coming on. I think it's honestly helped me reflect. I think, obviously losing to Orlando is never like a nice feeling, right? But I'm grateful. I'm grateful because at the end of the day, we had a 10% chance of making the playoffs, right? And then to go on to beat Miami, I mean, that was amazing. I couldn't have predicted that. So yeah, I think overall, I think at this point, I'm more just looking forward to the off season, looking forward to what the next moves are, and looking forward to the rebuild, the proper rebuild that really started in the middle of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I think you are echoing pretty much what everyone is feeling right now, because they just want to get this done and out of the way, and get the taste out of their mouth and hear some positive, optimistic news about where our trajectory is for next season. I think AJ was saying how likely not going to hear about coach stuff until at least after MLS Cup. So it might be a little while until we're really hearing some stuff. Hopefully rumors abound about players at least. That would be neat. I mean, it would be fun. We started to see Atlanta be in the news, with beating Miami and etc. and other things that, and they were in a favorable light in international sense and things like that. So that can attract attention. That could be interesting. That would be, and it just makes you feel good too as a fan. It's like usually when we're in the news, it's bad things, but now it's like finally something more positive. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. So in terms of maybe, I'm trying to think because we're probably not going to hear much about transfer rumors because it's unfortunate that it's like we're not hearing a lot. Do you think we should be hearing something yet or no?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, for one, our season just ended, right? I think Rob Valentino should be a candidate. I think I think they should do a thorough review of everything he's accomplished, and I think that there are a lot of caveats for everything that Rob was able to achieve. The fact that he took over as interim halfway through the season, right? So, for example, he didn't get a preseason, right? Obviously, he didn't have DPs, right? Or it didn't have 2 DPs anyway that were sold. Somebody like Caleb Wiley, who even though we did find somebody valuable to replace him, at the time that would have been considered a big loss as well. So, I mean, I think that, I think he should be at least considered. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they make an outside hire.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning, because I'm just, like I said earlier, about the potential of this being a gamble of whether or not what Rob did is a flash in the pan. And it's Vibe SC is what someone said in the chat, which I agree with. I don't want that to be the case. I want there to be sustainable, systematic, something in place that really can help us be good over long periods of time. So that's what I'm hoping for.
And the way you build something that's sustainable over a long period of time is it has to take time.
Yeah.
It just, I don't think that can be avoided.
Just 2 more transfer cycles, Mark. Just 2 more. That's all Garth needs. Just 2 more.
and that's what's interesting. So I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm most optimistic about is the new direction under Garth. Now I know Garth has been here, but so was Bocanegra, right? So he inherited Bocanegra, he inherited Pineda. Now they're gone. Now this is his show, right? And so I am actually very intrigued by what the next moves are. And in terms of properly rebuilding, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but look at Orlando, right? Pareja comes in beginning of 2020, right? Loads of experience in MLS, spent a year in Liga MX. And then that for obviously 2020 was a weird year, but he got into the final of that tournament, right? He wins in the cup in 2022. So Orlando have been steadily building towards this. And actually, while Pareja was there, Orlando also had new owners come in, and so not only in Orlando City, but we saw the Orlando Pride win NWSL Shield last night, right? Mm-hmm. Orlando Pride were awful for years, right? And so were City, and like Pride had like some of the best players in the league. I mean, Marta has been there since like 2017, and so it in order to build a sustainably good club, it has to take time. And so we had our introduction to the league, right? I wouldn't necessarily call it a flash in the pan, but we took the league by storm, right? Now I think we're ready for our second phase of actually being a club that's in the postseason among the title favorites year in and year out. But it has to take time.
I'm freaking ready for that too, man. 100% definitely ready for that phase. So I think that we're probably not going to see any DP rumors until we get a new technical director, and that is rumored to be Chris Henderson in Miami, and their season's done and ours is done. Do you think there's a possibility we'll hear an announcement about that if the rumors are true, or do you not put any stake in those, or what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I think because you want to put things in place like one thing at a time, right? So if they really feel good about Chris Henderson and his ability to build a team, then there's no reason to not pull the trigger sooner than later. I am curious though as to what would be on Henderson's resume, right? Because if it's just recruiting Messi and friends, like, that in itself doesn't instill me with a whole deal of confidence, but who else did he bring in beyond that, right? Like,
it's Miami that recruited, the city itself recruited Messi. It wasn't these people there. I mean, David Beckham perhaps too, but like, it really was Miami itself.
Well, it's shades of Boca Negra, right? Like, in terms of recruiting Almiron and Joseph and Tito and LGP, like, we more or less know that they came because of Tata.
They didn't come because of Carlos. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And then when it was more kind of Carlos's show, that's when you saw like the Barco, the Petty, the who else? Moreno. Yeah, right. The
Alan
Santiago,
Franco,
right?
Jose.
Right, exactly. A bunch of players that didn't work out. So, yeah, it's I am actually curious as to what they're looking in a technical direction.
What's his name? Jurgen Damm.
Yo, $1 million.
The man who should not be mentioned.
I hope he's happy.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see if there's some more comments in the chat. Dopamine says, if you would have told me by the end of the season that we would have been okay, let me just not get a stroke while I'm reading this. If you would have told me the end of the season would have been what it was when Rob first took over, I wouldn't be mad at all. Let's be real. No one thought we would even be here, so I'm more positive. And also, more Real Madrid players. Yes, please.
Yeah, I am. So, and in terms of the excitement under Garth, going back to when he first came on with Atlanta United, one of the things he mentioned was more recruiting players in their prime, right? Like, more recruiting players who are going to be here for the long term, right? Building a core that, where you're not looking to make a profit on one or two of those players. And yeah, I think I am ready for that direction, right? Like, I understand why they did what they did before, but I think it is time for a new direction.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think about Jeffrey Barber says in the chat we should go after Pellegrino Matarazzo? That was the Oh my God, where is he from? That's the guy that was rumored for the U.S. job at one point, I think.
Yeah, he was in Germany, was it?
I think so. Yeah. And
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
goal by LA Galaxy up 4-2 now. Another good signing from them. Gabriel Peck scored that. So yeah, what do you think about what Jeffrey Barber said?
I'd have to look into his career, like his actual record, a little more to give a definitive opinion on that. But I guess that would be interesting. What I was wondering is, would they try to go after like a Liga Meki manager? You know, like somebody who's had success in that league? Because while I don't think MLS experience, I don't think that should be like a main criteria.
Yeah.
I do think it would be helpful if you have like North American experience, right? If you're like familiar with,
Agree.
how things operate here, how the game is played here, honestly, like it's a little different, you know, because we saw like even what's his name, the guy who didn't last, he lasted like half the season before he had to go. What's his name again?
Oh, Gabriel Heinze.
Yeah, I mean, you see how that played out. I mean, he just flat out, there were some things that he just flat out didn't understand about how MLS worked, right?
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily go down that route again. But
Yeah, that's true.
you know, I think a Liga Meki manager would be intriguing.
I remember people were making some noise about Miguel Herrera at one point back when he was doing Club America, but who knows what that would have looked like if we took a swing on him.
Yeah, that's he's a character for sure.
Yeah, didn't Miami have like Monterrey's coach like Alonso or something at one point?
Oh right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, like Miami, I would say Miami weren't really well run. I'm not really sure about Miami as an organization. I got to be honest with you. Like, it's hard to look at it beyond it's Messi and friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that they're a vanity project.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a retirement home. Very nice one. So I think, yeah, guys, we're finishing up here. I got to be out of here around before 8 because I haven't eaten dinner yet. I need to go run and do that. I know, I'm exhausted and very hungry.
Man.
But yeah, so get your comments in before we get out of here. Let me get your last thoughts about the game and on if it has any bearing on next season. How about some is there anything you can take away from this game that you thought was like positive, or you just want to kind of hark on some like extreme negative things that you saw that really stuck with you?
Let's see. I think, I think from this game and from what we've seen, there are certain players who you could see as part of the core going forward. Obviously, like Saba, right? I think Jay Fortune has improved a lot, actually. Like, I never thought he'd be starting playoff games for us. So, I was impressed by him for sure. Let's see, who else? Moranchuk, hopefully we see more in the future. I think it would be difficult for a player like him to not have a striker. Even if Chiari and Rios are not the best strikers, it's still you take them out and it's like what kind of reference?
Well, speaking of strikers,
right?
Jeffrey Barber also asked, what striker should we get, Mark?
It's funny. I was talking to so shout out to Soccer Down here. I was talking to Jared Smith earlier after our pickup game, and that question came up. The thing is, I don't have names for you, and it's one of those things where because we're an MLS team, right? Like but an MLS team willing to spend money, we can really we can cast a wide net. But what I would say is, just be willing to drop 15 to 20 million, right? Just be willing,
Ooh, yeah, I would love that. Would be interesting if we went that high. What kind of profile striker do you think we should get?
Man, I really like Yakumakis as a striker a lot.
Yeah.
If you could give me a Yakumakis minus the injuries and minus the, dipping out on a team after a year or two, yeah, somebody like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So you're a fan of like hold up play and not like barn burning, like super fast sprinting all the time. You're more of a fan of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, either hold up play or somebody that can kind of do like drop in and connect with your wingers and your attacking midfielder. I think what I would say is this: I want a striker who can get involved with the play. This is just an example, right? Obviously, somebody like Haaland is very good. He scores a lot of goals, but then you also see where he's often not involved in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should have any passengers in the team, right? Like, I want a striker who's constantly involved with the play. So like somebody who's athletic, right? And
like a Jose Martinez 2018. Like,
yo, man, exactly. Can we have we built that time machine yet?
Yeah, seriously.
We go back in time
because
again?
like his dynamism was so excellent. Like the fact I always remember seeing him, his version of hold up play would just be ball would get to him and he would just tap it a little bit and he'd be like halfway already turned to start sprinting when he would do that tap, and then he would just turn and go, and then the other guy would get it and he would pass the the ball up to him and he'd already be off to the races. Like that type of speed is sorely like Tiari can do that a bit, and I appreciate it, but it's like seeing someone of Joseph's level doing that for us again would be unbelievable to me. And that kind of is more of a profile of like smaller, faster, less kind of like a like a target striker type of guy. But
and just because you're smaller, you can still be a target in the box, as we saw with Joseph.
Yeah, but he's special. I feel like
Yeah, but I think the Joseph example is a great example though, because he was a winger at I think it was Atalanta. He came from Syria.
Torino.
Oh, right. But yeah, like he was a winger, and then he was identified. He came in, and he kind of hit the ground running, playing as a striker. So that's why I say it's difficult to put a name out there like, oh, this guy would definitely work for. I think that there are plenty of players out there across the globe that could potentially fit into what Atlanta United are trying to do. But first, we got to figure out what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Jeffrey Barber wants Richarlison from Tottenham. You think that would work out?
Oh God. Oof. You know what? He would actually probably score a lot of goals.
He probably would, but I get nervous about him watching some of his stuff. So yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I would be extremely weary, but then again, like anyone of that high caliber would probably just light up MLS. So who knows?
Yeah, true. I agree.
And I to your point, like, yeah, a lot of money, and also I want it to strike fear in the hearts of other teams. Like, I want that player to be someone that other teams genuinely fear to go up against. Like, I feel like we haven't had that in a long time. And we definitely don't have that from Moranchuk, even though he is, as good as he is. I don't think people, like, look at him and go, oh, God, oh, goodness gracious. Like, we're going to get, our doors blasted off by this guy. So, I just hope we have someone like that. I just want to be feared again in the league like we were back in, 2017 to 19.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree.
Yeah. Well, not seeing any more comments. Like, all right, Christopher just popped in with we need a Cucho type player or a Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, like that kind of profile I feel like is a Joseph model, so I feel like, that's not a bad shout, that kind of thing. So maybe we'll see something like that. Who knows in what direction we're going, because it's probably going to be much up to the technical director. And like was alluded to, we don't really know what his bona fides, his resume is like when it comes to getting players that aren't, these superstars, I guess. Like what kind of profile does he go for? What is the message from the front office about where they want to take the team? Are they going to focus, South America? Are they going to go back to, what Carlos was doing in areas of, Europe and Eastern Europe and things like that? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. So follow us, like, subscribe, keep an eye on for our videos and our updates for all the things that happen in the off season. And AJ and Mark, AJ's sitting on the couch behind Mark right now, but we will end the stream now and we'll kind of sign off for the end of the season. And yeah, thanks for everyone for hanging out the entirety of the season with us. We're going to be running it back again for next season for these live cams. If you want to be on them, please let us know. Join the Discord as well, where we always have conversations about this kind of stuff, and also obviously all the news we broke there as well. So if you want to see something ahead of all your friends, that's where you'll probably see it first. So yeah, join us there. And yeah, for AJ, who's creepily in the background waving over Mark, and for Mark, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys and experiencing, although a not, an amazing season, a fairly historical one in regards to bringing down MLS's golden boy and their cash cow, Lionel Messi, which, I mean, I can take at least some solace in that. So yeah, with that, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next season. Take care, everybody.
Peace.